crazy, or should she look at trying to change her time? I know myself, usually I try to get there between 11 and 12 most times, but I end up getting there between 1 and 2 for the most part every time, just because I end up I end up running out of time or running behind, whatever the case is, whether it's myself or whoever I'm traveling with may put me behind. So even though I do put for 11 o'clock check in, I normally don't get there till probably around 12. So I really actually think that it's probably better to go ahead and, if you can do an early check-in, to go ahead and do an early check-in. That way, if you do an early check-in, you can always check in late or a little bit later. But if you do a later check-in and let's say things change to the point where you get there early, now you really have to wait until that time. So if you do a 1:30 check-in and you just happen to catch your catch your shuttle over to the port, or you may park at the port, whatever one you choose. And if you do a 1:30 check-in and you get there at, let's say 11:30, well, you have to still wait 2 hours before they let you in, versus doing 11:30 check-in and then arriving at 1:30. Now you can, because you've already got that early check-in, you can check in whenever you decide to get there. As long as you don't check in before or try to check in before your arrival time, you should be good. But let's see what people have to say about that. So Pamela says that no, you will have more time for lunch and shorter lines before the ship fills up. She says that she tries to get there early boarding as much as possible. Again, I think it's like 2 weeks before your cruise that they'll announce the times where you can check in. So the best thing to do if you really want those early times is to make sure that at midnight, when that check-in um, opportunity opens up, make sure that you one of the first. Now it's going to be half the ship trying to check in at midnight, so you just have to be lucky. But at the same time, if as long as you're trying to check in around midnight, then you should be good enough to get an early check in. All right, but if you wake up that next day, chances are you may not be able to check in at 10:30. You may be closer to the 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock check in. Christy says she always does 10 a.m. or 10:30 check-in. I never had an issue getting on that time. The longer you wait, the more backed up they can get. So 1:30 p.m. would be chaos. Yeah, I agree with that. You definitely want to get there because there's procrastinators like your boy that like to do everything last minute, and there's thousands of people, millions of people like me trying to get on that ship, or that are procrastinators. Let's see what else we got here. So yeah, this is basically about the check-in. Let's scroll down. How's the entertainment aboard Carnival ships? It depends on what ships. I find it pretty good most of the time. We have seen some good bands and decent shows. Those are two responses to her question. Let's see what else we got pertaining to the entertainment on board. We got excellent. Alina says it's excellent. Lynn loves the comedy show. I love the comedy shows. By the way, I try to catch as many comedy shows as I can. Sometimes it's hit or miss depending on the comic. Sometimes the comic bombed. The last cruise that I was on, there was one comic that really bombed, and unfortunately for everybody that's a huge comedy club fan, you had to wait until the ships ported and then new comics came on from other ships. Once comics may start off on one ship, and then once we get to a port, then the comics after a few days of sailing may switch, and let's say they started out on Horizon. They did a couple of days on the Horizon giving shows, and then we get to the point at Celebration where the comics will get off the ship at Celebration, and at the Celebration Key, they'll get off the ship, off the horizon, and they may get on the Liberty. I'm just using those for an example. And then they'll flip flop the comedians. So on the back half, we'll have a whole new set of comedians on the ship. But yeah, I enjoy the comedy shows a lot. I just really started getting into the like the shows. You know, you have the Motown shows, you have the rock and roll shows, and they're pretty entertaining. They're pretty entertaining. I try to get my sons to endure some of those shows and take in some of those shows, but I guess as far as older guys, older people to enjoy those type of shows like the Motowns and the rock and rolls and the stuff like that. So Joanne said that she loves she enjoys the theater production, the comedians, and usually the entertainers, except one group called the Crybaby Cowboys. Karaoke was better than them. Says that they enjoyed the karaoke as long as the KJ followed the rules. They often we often time our meals around karaoke, and if we are up next before we head over to dinner, it's not it is not cool if they put someone ahead of you just walked and I don't know what she's talking about. Let's go on. Sorry about that. Denise Baker talks about the deal or no deal. I never tried a deal or no deal. What do you guys think about that? Let me know. Is that worth trying? Just let me know in the comments what y'all think about that. But she says that she was on the elation for the deal or no deal, and she thinks it's kind of dumb. The one actual entertainment show that they've seen, the singers, dancers um, were great as were their outfits, but the stage set was pretty lame. In her humble opinion, she stated that over the years, she wasn't impressed with Uncle Johnny, the cruise director, and that's on the Carnival Elation. Linda says very entertaining. She loved the Motown show. I love the Motown show too. They were pretty good. 50-50, and also it depends on the ship. So yeah, obviously the entertainment depends on the ship, depends on the the host, the cruise host. Okay, let's do one more. Let's do one more before we leave. All right, here's a good one. Mark, Mark, I'm taking it he's from New York. He has the New York Giants as his profile picture. But Mark says, I just saw a TikTok video where the passengers had electronic boarding passes on their phones during embarkation. It was on the Carnival Conquest. Is this a thing? And he says he hopes so. I don't think that is a thing. I don't know how that even passed by, got past the check-in. But yes, you still need a paper copy of everything. I would plan to have a paper copy. Everything that you see on TikTok is not Bible. Um, a lot of times it's just clickbait. And Shannon says, "What if your phone glitches? What do you do then?" Yeah, exactly. So always be prepared. I would say always carry always have paper trail, have something in writing. Don't depend on your digital media or stuff like that in order, especially in regards to traveling. Because there's no way that they're going to wait for you if you have to go back home or you have to go somewhere to get it print out, whatever the case is. So just be prepared. Be prepared either way. Des Robinson says there is an option to add it into your Apple Wallet or Google Wallet. Hmm. Harriet says she downloaded hers in her Apple Wallet and used it to get onto the Magic Ship. I went through several check-in points and never pulled out my printout ticket. Oh, well, there you go. Um, there's some, I guess there is some truth to it. Some people have been successful with just the digital. I mean, it really, honestly, it makes sense to go digital. It's going to it'll save time. It'll save, sometimes you get up there. I know when I go, I have all my information, all my documents inside of a manila folder like this. I have it inside of a manila folder like this. And, it is kind of a hassle. It's kind of a hassle just trying to juggle all those papers. But if I can just have it on my phone and just kind of scan and show, then I think I would be more inclined to doing that versus the paper and carrying around a folder also. But I see a lot of people adding it to their Apple Wallet and their Google Wallet, so maybe that is a thing. It's something I just learned too. I just learned that. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. That's it for today. That's the tips and tricks for today. Remember, go ahead and subscribe. We're gonna do this more often. We're on Facebook. We're gonna go on this Facebook and we're gonna pretty much take the Facebook group and bring it to you guys on YouTube. If you're not familiar with, if you're not involved in a Facebook group, heading into your crew. You can actually go onto Facebook and search under groups. And let's say, for instance, I'm on the Carnival Sunrise July 20th through the 25th. If you put that into the search engine, that group will come up and you can kind of touch base and you can kind of reach out to other people that are going to be on the same cruise before the cruise even starts. So I started doing this about 3 years ago, and sometimes you get a lot of good information from people that you're going to be cruising with by just going on and getting involved, and you can build relationships, meeting people before you even get on the ship, and then when you connect, especially if you're cruising by yourself, it'll be great to go on there and meet a couple people that you can, kind of build a relationship and bond with before the trip. That way, when you guys get on the ship, you can meet at the sports bar, or you can meet at the Lido deck, or you can meet anywhere, at the rum punch bar, whatever the case is, atrium, whatever. And you guys can, then you won't feel like you're by yourself and you can have a great time. But again, like and subscribe. I hope you guys got something from today's tips, and I look forward to the next show. And I see y'all in the atrium. Peace.